Aristotle laid the foundations of modern science with his philosophy. But before he could do so, he had to contradict his teacher. In this story, you'll learn why Aristotle questioned Plato's teachings and how he exposed a trick more than 2,000 years ago that certain politicians still use today to seduce their supporters. Thank you for watching my video. Leave a like and a subscription if you like. I would be very happy about that. And now have fun with the video. The great thinker's point finger's light falls through the huge archways and spreads sunshine into every corner of the great hall. Dozens of scholars are absorbed there in their thoughts and theses. One is quickly jotting down a fleeting idea. Here is resting his head on his fist, as though he might collapse under the sheer weight of his thoughts at any moment. And in the middle of them all, Plato and Aristotle, the famous Greek philosophers, walk in their flowing robes. They stride in a leisurely manner through the lobby. Everything seems to be in balance. Everything appears peaceful, full of harmony. But if you look closely, you'll see something that will shake the world of the ancient philosophers. Plato is pointing with the index finger of his right hand upward toward the sky. Aristotle's right hand is pointing downward toward the earth. These are only tiny gestures, but they could not be more opposite, for they reveal a dispute that will fundamentally change philosophy. Evidence. Trump's ideas. Plato and Aristotle are the central figures of Raphael's famous mural in the Vatican Palace in Rome, the School of Athens. 500 years ago, the Italian master Raphael not only depicted the greatest thinkers of antiquity in his fresco, but also the exact moment when Aristotle contradicted his teacher, Plato. Two people have probably never been seen arguing more gracefully. In contrast to Plato, the idealist who points upwards and thus to the heaven of ideas, Aristotle, the realist, points downward to the world of the here and now. It's as if he wanted to make his teacher understand. Trust your senses and accept the world as it is, not as it might be. Aristotle studied and taught for 20 years in Plato's school of philosophy, the Academy. Then he became the tutor of a Macedonian prince who would go down in history as one of the greatest military commanders ever seen, Alexander the Great. Finally, Aristotle founded his own school of philosophy in Athens. Over the years, he had drifted away more and more from his teacher. Plato had taught that the world as we perceive it with our senses was only an imperfect image of a reality that had its origin in the world of ideas. For Aristotle, however, what counted was what could be seen, felt, and directly experienced. He looked for proof for his knowledge in the here and now. Simply put, Plato derived his theories from the pure idea, Aristotle from his observations. While Plato was searching for the ideal or perfect state, Aristotle, a pragmatist, was looking for the best possible one. Thus, he was a pioneer of so-called empiricism, the gaining of knowledge through observation, experience, and experimentation. Modern science is essentially based on this principle. So in contrast to his teacher Plato and Plato's teacher Socrates, Aristotle was not a classical philosopher, but rather something like the first philosopher-scientist. Aristotle wanted to understand everything systematically. He devoted himself to all areas of knowledge and always sought explanations that had their origin in the world of experience. He laid the foundations of biology and psychology, wrote on poetics, and created logic as an independent science. In the process, he not only invented the concept of rhetoric, the art of persuasive public speaking, but also exposed certain tricks that populists still use today to mobilize their supporters. Aristotle and alternative facts. Aristotle's influence on philosophy and the natural sciences was immense. He introduced many concepts which we still use in our everyday thinking and speaking. For example, Aristotle studied and analyzed certain rhetorical strategies in great detail. They can still be seen today in political debate. Aristotle called such rhetorical strategies sophisms. During Aristotle's lifetime, people were called sophists if they used rhetorical tricks to fool people and get them to agree with an argument that was actually false. Basically, these sophists were the inventors of what we might call today alternative facts, long before modern-day populist blowhards across the political spectrum made use of them around the world. The need to resist false truths was already pronounced in ancient Greece, and Aristotle wanted to show how sophists misuse arguments to mislead, misdirect, or manipulate listeners. Arguing with fallacies. An example of a rhetorical strategy intended to mislead is the invention of a fallacy. One way to do this is to equate a person with their ideas. According to Aristotle, it's a kind of false argument intended to morally condemn an opponent without actually addressing what they are talking about. It's sometimes called the ad hominem fallacy, a Latin phrase meaning against the man. Here's a contemporary example. The leader of country X's Green Party says that driving a car harms the environment, yet she herself drives a car. Such a sentence is intended to cast doubt on the credibility of the woman involved. It suggests that she is either a liar or a hypocrite. Either driving a car can't really harm the environment as she claims, or the Green politician doesn't really care about the environment. She wants everyone else to change their habits, but won't change her own. We end up no longer discussing the question of whether and how much automobiles may harm the environment, but only the fact that an environmentalist leader drives a car. It personalizes the issue as a way of avoiding talking about it. You can probably think of more examples yourself. Watch out for the next time a politician you don't like does it. Watch out even more for when a politician you do like does it. The impact of Aristotle's philosophy extends right up to our own time. We might even say he anticipated trolling. Another philosopher of antiquity took a different approach to Aristotle's. He didn't abide by social conventions, slept in a barrel, and provoked people by breaking taboos. His name was Diogenes, and he was perhaps the first performance artist in history. After this story, you now know 1. Aristotle was a student of Plato. Together with Plato and Socrates, he is one of the most important philosophers of ancient Greece. 2. Aristotle was the teacher of a Macedonian prince who became one of the greatest military leaders in history, Alexander the Great. 3. Aristotle disagreed with Plato's theory of ideas. Plato believed ideas lie behind our picture of the world. Aristotle believed we only gain knowledge through observation and sensory perception. 4. Aristotle is considered a pioneer of logic and many natural sciences. He also described rhetorical tricks that are still used today by many politicians to mislead their followers. Thank you for watching my video. See you next time. Goodbye.